Hi, hello everybody. Welcome to this webinar. And today we're going to talk about scalable multi-cloud app security with WAF. So WAF is Web Application Firewall. I'm pretty sure all of you who sign up knows it. And we have an expert from our team, Christian. He is actually, from Europe, so it's kind of a late hour for him, but he's excited to tell you guys all about WAF that he knows. And based on the presentation, he will also do a live demo. So do stay for the live demo. Um, before we get started, just a few, housekeeping items that everybody asks. Is this being recorded? Yes. And you will get the recording on-demand version after the webinar in an email. We also include the slides as well. So you can feel free to share the content with your coworkers who cannot make it to this hour, but they can also view the recording on demand as well. And now, because you're live here, you get the privilege to ask questions, live questions to Christian. So use the Q&A window to type in your questions. Now, I'll try to answer offline some basic questions, but I will make sure I read them live to Christian to answer as well. Okay? Now, without further ado, Christian, it's all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Lei. Hello and welcome in my green void. So joining me here for this webinar on multi-cloud application security. So as Lei has said, my name is Christian, and I've actually been working with customers to protect their applications for many years now. So in this webinar, I'm going to present why it is important to keep your applications secure, deploy them in a consistent manner, no matter where they are, right? So if your application runs today in on-prem and tomorrow runs in the cloud, it should be deployed in a similar way. So, and as a product manager, I get the chance to talk to many of our customers, and they are looking for a solution that can really bridge the gap between the clouds. So let's examine why so many enterprises are actually struggling with this. So if you think about multi-cloud, right, it is here today, and it actually has been for some time. Workloads are deployed across on-prem data centers and public clouds. Just count how many of these ecosystem logos you have in your environment today and how many you plan to add in the future. Our application security solution fits within VMware's any app, any cloud vision perfectly. Application security and WAF is one of the application services delivered from this single platform, and that help to address some of the common challenges that enterprises face today. All right, so there are a couple of angles we can actually look at this. So let's start with the why, right? Why are we want to protect our applications? And right, look at the news, right? Hardly a week goes by without yet another big data breach. I sometimes joke it's as common as rain in the UK in today's hyper-connected world, right? Many companies in the security industry keep track of these breaches. And this is important because we need to know how or what's causing all of them. And one well-known source is the Verizon data breach report. So for many years, applications have taken the top spot for breaches that result from hacking attacks. So, and let me reminiscent of the last year, right? What happened? If I look back, how many breaches we have seen in the last year, that the 2021 report will paint a similar picture, right? We're still in this together. And now let's look at how companies are affected. The cost of a data breach can actually quickly go into the tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, and it will not only damage the the company's reputation, but also the customer trust in that company, right? So, and since web applications are the root cause for such a high rate of breaches, deploying a web application firewall in front of them is a critical part for the overall security best practices of application owners. Now we can talk about why application firewalls are not deployed in front of every application out there anyway. And if you think about it, there isn't hardly any network out there that is not outfitted with a network firewall. So what's the reason WAFs are not deployed everywhere as well? So when we surveyed our customers a long time ago, the majority of them came back with that the #1 reason for not deploying WAF is complexity. And this was actually then divided into two kinds of complexity. So policy complexity and management complexity. Other mentions in that survey were about lack of visibility and a general caution about performance and scalability. So let's try to figure out where that comes from. If you're looking back at the early 2000s, when application firewalls were first introduced, they were actually pretty simple. A couple of rules within a web server, and that was it. But now, nearly 20 years later, WAFs and applications have evolved greatly, and I think to all our benefit. But that comes, the overall increase in benefit comes with a level of complexity as well. So for a modern multi-cloud security solution, we need to address these challenges by providing ease of use enhancement to reduce the overall complexity. I'm talking about application learning, false positive mitigation workflows. We need to provide best-in-class visibility and provide performance and scale similarly to what cloud vendor solutions offer. So how can we do that? Let's look at the architecture for a second. The NSX Advanced Load Balancer is a modern, software-defined, elastic application delivery platform. Wow, that's a lot of words there. So let's go into each of those. It's actually composed of a central control plane and a distributed data plane, as you can see here on the slide. The AVI controller provides a centralized policy engine which delivers full lifecycle management for your applications. So, and with that, it actually eliminates the problems of over-provisioning, overspending by scaling load balancers elastically, and all of that based on real-time traffic. So, in addition to that, it provides a self-healing fabric. What does that mean actually? If one of those data plane engines, which we call service engines, by the way, if one of those fails, then the applications are actually dynamically moved to another available AVI service engine. And that ensures that the required capacity of all applications is always available. And the controller can actually create new AVI service engines to replace the failed one automatically. So, and most importantly for us, it has a single point of control and the multi-cloud support. What does that mean? This enables this universal solution for traditional, modern, and cloud-native use cases across all your environments. So applications can reside anywhere on any cloud, and the AVI controller would actually provide the same level of automation regardless of where the application is provisioned. In addition, it provides rich performance monitoring, visibility into client, security, and application insights that simplifies troubleshooting and automates a lot of the decisions, like, for example, where the application is actually hosted on which of the service engines. So the one thing to highlight here as well is that the controller can actually sign up for threat intelligence from our AVI Pulse service, which I will talk about in one of the following slides. So we want to drill deeper now into the security aspects of the platform, right? This was the architecture. Now let's go to the security particular. And the first feature to discuss, the lowest one here on this list, is SSL offload or SSL policies. And they can centrally manage all your transport encryption needs for all the applications. After the decryption, the layer 3, 4 or layer 7 stateful firewall rules, which are actually easy to create UI-based policies, can be used to enforce security on an IP or content level. One of the special policies built into this is our IP reputation service. And this will continuously be updated with the known bad IPs via the Pulse service that I mentioned earlier. And in combination with our geo-IP database, restricts unwanted access to the application. When the application that is served by the platform requires additional authentication or authorization, we have this covered by offering a SAML service provider module and other API-based mechanisms like a JOT validation. As a measure to block ransomware or malware uploads, we've built in an ICAP client to send these files to an external entity like VMware's Lastline or other malware scanners. On all the layers of the incoming traffic into the NSX Advanced Load Balancer, we are always monitoring for DDoS attacks. So over 30 different types of attacks can be identified, and when the system actually identifies them, it will start mitigation automatically. So, and one of those important mitigation techniques is actually our advanced rate limiting, which is available anywhere on the platform. So it can be configured as a firewall action, a WAF analysis result, or even in our data script engine, which is our fully user-defined scripting engine where you can write scripts that mingle with the traffic. So when it comes to full application traffic analysis on layer 7, our application firewall covers this use case. This fully featured web application firewall will analyze all incoming traffic for common web attacks like SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and so on, and our outgoing traffic to prevent data loss. In addition, our application learning pipeline will analyze the traffic and tailor positive security rules to strengthen the shield around the application. And we go into detail about that a little bit later. So, but before we deep dive into the WAF, I want to talk about the threat feeds that we provide. So I mentioned that before, our Pulse service, a SaaS cloud service where a controller can actually register and you can opt into these threat feeds, right? So it provides IP reputation updates, GeoDB updates, application rule updates, and signatures updates. And our customers love Pulse not only for that, but we provide a lot more management functionality as well. So, for example, you can open support cases directly through Pulse, and it will the system will automatically push all the information that is needed to help you with the support case in case there is an issue. So next up, I want to talk about the malware protection we built in. So in some use cases, an application requires a user to upload files, right? So may it be a portal where you upload your resume, right? We've seen that a lot in the news where you upload a resume that contains some malicious data, and then the recruiter opens it and their machine gets infected, right? So that's a common example, right? And when you upload a file with these malicious parts, or it could be an Excel file with a macro that then installs ransomware, for example, we need to inspect these files, but we don't do it on the platform, but we partner with various malware scanners here. And we connect these scanners via the ICAP protocol. And besides marking an upload as malicious, and therefore we would be blocking it, we support also the CDR technique. And I'm always getting this wrong, but it's content disarm and reconstruction. So what does that mean? It sounds fancy, but what does it actually mean? For me, it's a very fancy term for sanitizing a file, right? So the actual file that gets uploaded gets sanitized. The script in the Excel file gets removed, and then the sanitized file gets delivered back to the ICAP client, so to our platform, and then forwarded to the application. And as I mentioned, this is just one pillar of the overall application security we looked at in the full stack, right? So I want to highlight that additional functionality like this CDR technique is available. So now we are moving into WAF territory. So let's look at the WAF security pipeline actually. It consists out of these three modules. We have allow list, the positive security, and the signatures. All of these modules work together to provide the full application firewall protection. They are supported by the industry-leading app analytics platform that we've built on top of the load balancer. So how do we, let's go into each of those, right? So let's figure out the details here. So the first part is the allow list, right? It can be configured for parts of your application that should be bypassed from the application firewall checking, or when other use cases require direct access to the unprotected application. A couple of examples I got here for you where the allow list will be in good use. The first one would be if you want to just bypass traffic from being checked by the WAF policy. This could be done for static resources, for example, for upload paths, where we already check the upload via ICAP. It could be done for uploads where the client uploads gigabytes of data, which should not be checked by the application firewall. So yeah, instead of running that upload through the WAF policy, the ICAP scanner before will take care of that. So another use case would be your security team might run vulnerability scans against the unprotected application to find potential risks there, right? And that can be allowed by a bypass on the IP level for that specific scan. The other use case for the allow list is traffic sampling. And this would enable the application firewall only on a subset of requests. For example, if you want to run a canary-style deployment of a new WAF policy. The third use case mentioned in here is if you want to actually change the operating mode of the WAF into detection for any matching path or request type. So we haven't talked about this yet, and I'll show it to you in the demo, but a WAF runs in two modes, right? Detection mode or enforcement mode. And you can actually use the allow list to change the mode based on the requests coming in for parts of the application that might still have issues with your current policy. All right, now we are going into the next section, and that's positive security. And positive security is the way of describing what is valid or expected application behavior. So this is then implemented as application firewall rules that get enforced. And there are actually multiple ways to create these rules. Used by most of our customers is the automatic rule creation using our integrated machine learning-based application learning engine. So in the data path, we collect these traffic patterns that we need for the learning and send them to the controller for deeper analysis. And then for each of these URIs and parameters and everything that we have analyzed, a confidence score is calculated. And when this confidence score reaches a configured threshold, a positive security rule is programmed automatically. And from that point forward, the positive security will actually enforce the learned behavior for all of the future requests. And over time, this will build a comprehensive model of the application that is protected within the positive security. So a couple notes about the learning engine. It was actually built to support continuous learning in any application context. What does that mean? Whether you secure an application that gets updated daily or one that is not getting updated at all, we have this covered by automatically adjusting the learning engine parameters. And we use the same machine learning pipeline for that as we have used in the application learning. And this way we can actually automatically tune the sampling rate for the incoming data. And consequently, when the entropy, so the changes in that incoming data is low, maybe because the application has not changed, we can reduce the amount of resources the learning engine needs on the controller. And we stay in that state until the entropy of the data says otherwise. And think about it, therefore, once configured, the positive security and the learning engine do not need additional manual configuration tuning, right? The system is taking care of that for you. There are more ways to creating positive security rules. The second option is creating positive security rules via an output of a vulnerability scan. Here, the controller takes an import of the findings of a vulnerability scanner and provides positive security rules. And you would think of it as a virtual patch for the found vulnerabilities, and with that, protect the application. Finally, if you want to create individual rules, the user or admin can do that manually through our UI or API. With that, let's focus on the next step, right? So let's talk about signatures. We have actually two types of signatures in the application firewall. We have the application rules and we have the core rule set as well. And together they provide the comprehensive signature protection. So let's talk about application rules. These are the rules that are application vulnerability specific. Okay, so what does that mean? So when you have maybe an open source or an off-the-shelf application like your WordPress or different one, right? And there are vulnerabilities found within that application, then specific application rules will be created to address that specific vulnerability, right? That specific CVE that is opened for this application. And therefore, this application rule will then prohibit the exploitation of that specific attack vector. So I'll give you an example. If you remember a couple months ago, we had this exchange vulnerability. We could actually deploy two application rules there that were looking for a couple of header combinations that would prohibit that attack as well. So to give you an overview, in our database, we have over 5,000 different of those applications and over 15,000 rules covering lots and lots of these CVEs that are targeting the applications. And whenever you start hosting a new off-the-shelf application on the application delivery platform, you choose the application rules for that, and you quickly secure the application against the known CVEs, right? And why is this important? We have seen actually a lot of customers telling us that somebody had on their web server an open source application fired up, and nobody then takes care of it, right? Nobody updates it. But since these application rules update through our Pulse service, they get security for the found CVEs, even though the applications might not be updated. So it's the second type of signatures. We have the OWASP core rule set included. So this provides protection against OWASP top 10 attacks, like your secret injection, cross-site scripting, and so on. And we have actually built in a tuning mechanism to offer for admin who has to work with this it's called the exception workflow, where you click on the log entry and you add exceptions wherever a false positive might occur, right? And together with that exception workflow, we've built incredibly detailed attack analytics and correlated views of over time how the WAF policy interacts with the traffic and how where on your application the attackers try to break into the application. So together, application rules and core rule set provide the comprehensive signature protection that we deliver for your applications on the NSX Advanced Load Balancer platform. All right, so how does that all work together? Let's look at the pipeline, right? So we talked about each individual step. Now let's put them together. So unvalidated traffic goes into the allow list, right? Then all the remaining traffic that is still unvalidated because the allow list didn't validate it to the application is going to the positive security. And given that the learning engine has been active and has programmed rules, then these rules will validate expected application behavior, block behavior that does not comply with the learned rules, or send the remaining parts of the traffic for signature validation. So as you can see, the total amount of traffic that is checked by the signatures is greatly reduced, resulting in a reduced false positive rate and increased performance of the overall security pipeline. So last step, of course, as we discussed, is the signatures here. So after allow list and positive security, the rest of the traffic is sent to the signatures for inspection. So if any attack is found there, the traffic is blocked. Otherwise, it will be sent to the application for processing and therefore finishing the application security pipeline. So now we looked at the application firewall and the security on the platform that kind of covers how we looked at the security features on the platform, which focus more on the security complexity, right, making that easier to use for the admin. Now, I want to focus a little bit on the analytics we have built in that provide the visibility that our customers demanded from us. So let's start by this, looking at what is actually there. So first of all, we've built in end-to-end timing. So this is really important if you want to see any hiccups in the application, troubleshooting what's going on. End-to-end timing will help you to show, is it the application that responds slowly? Is it the client RTT from the load balancer to the client? What is actually causing the latency to go up? Or is it the WAF processing, right? Because an attacker might try to DOS your application firewall. And while we have mitigations for that in place, it still can happen that you see this popping up in the analytics. So that's number one, right? So end-to-end timing. Then I'll show you more details in the demo in a couple slides, by the way. Next up is DDoS metrics. So DDoS metrics give us an overview of are you under attack right now and what mitigations have been started, right? How many connections already have been blocked. Next up, you get rich app logs analytics with every detail of the request that you want to have to drill deep into what's going on, why, for example, was this request blocked by the application firewall or any other matter, right? Maybe it was blocked by the IP reputation service because it's a known bad IP, or it was rate limited. All of that is in the app log analytics. Then we have also built in WAF attack analytics. And WAF attack analytics kind of take the individual log files and look at them over time and provide a correlated view of what's going on. So we can drill deeper down by actually filtering on specific parts of those requests that might have been affected by the application firewall policy. And lastly, you get deep insights into all your SSL metrics. So if you're what kind of SSL versions your customers, your clients are running, and of course, it gives you a score in how good your SSL is configured in terms of the certificates on the platform itself. And with all of that, we're bringing you all the tools that you need to analyze, right? To analyze what's going on, to triage if there's an existing issue, if there's an issue, to identify what is causing the issue, right? And then if that issue is security related, to secure the issue as well. And yeah, that is a very quick overview of the analytics that we've built into the platform. And there's a lot more which I'll cover in the demo. And just as a hint, right? All of this, what you see here and what you see later in the UI, is actually available through our API as well. So if you wanted to consume that data somewhere else because you have a central management board where you want to get all these metrics pre-computed and load them in and show them, that's available for you as well through our REST API, which, as I mentioned before, is available for everything. It's for automation. It's for getting out logs if you wanted to, and metrics as well. And yeah, with that, let's jump into the demo here. And give me a second to switch actually my application. So we want to now look at my controller here. Let me focus on that for a second. So the demo I'm going to show you here, it's a demo system with lots and lots of virtual services, and a couple of things to start with, right? If you've never seen our UI before, I want to walk you around. You have configuration, and you have on the top right here, for example, a way to switch between controllers, because I haven't mentioned this before in the architecture, but you can actually have a controller cluster. And here we have a cluster of 5 controllers that give us the power to connect to all of these different clouds, and again, making these connections and collect the data back to provide all that visibility. The platform also provides full multi-tenancy. So here I'm in the demo tenant, but we have a lot more tenants that we have available to switch on. So if you want to divide and conquer responsibilities for your applications or even for your security, you can do that by using the tenant system and using the built-in RBAC functionality. To give you an example, we have a built-in WAF admin security group where when you are given this right, you are able to access the application firewall configuration, make changes, but you're not able to access and make changes to the underlying load balancing, for example. So you have full control, and you can, of course, create your own RBAC groups as well. So now I will walk you through the step-by-step how this is configured, how we are configuring an application, and how we are securing it, right? Because that's the main topic of this, right? How do we do multi-cloud security for all your applications? And here I want to jump into infrastructure. And first of all, you see all the service engines that we have running here, 16 in total. So, but from this view, I cannot even tell you where they are, maybe by name, right? So if one of them looks like AWS, it's probably in AWS. So let's check it out. We actually, because as I told you, multi-cloud for us means that you have one UI, one REST API, and you interact with all of these different environments. Here we are connected to the AWS, we are connected to Azure, and we are connected to the VMware cloud, right? So my, so to speak, on-prem data center in the form of vSphere. So in the AWS cloud, just to give you an example, we are connecting here to region US West, and yeah, that's it. You give it the credentials, and the controller takes care of the rest. It will even create the service engines for you, right? So if you go to the service engine tab here and look at which service engine is actually in AWS cloud, yes, this is the one that I spotted on the dashboard running in the AWS cloud. On the VMware cloud, here we are running a couple more which support other demo environments or other demo applications. So keep that in mind, right? You have one central management console for all these applications. And if you want to move applications around and kind of make them available in AWS because your on-prem is full, then this can be done by moving them here through to a different cloud. So now let's go into an application, actually have a look where you can see how an application is configured, and then what kind of analytics we get, and how security is done. In this WAF demo OS, which will be the main virtual service we are looking at, we see that it's protected by having the little shield symbol around it. And if we go in, we see that by hovering over this, it's actually hosted in VMware Cloud. Okay, so this is running locally in on-prem. On a different virtual service, the AWS web app is, as the name would suggest, running in AWS Cloud. And both applications can actually share configuration objects between each other. So if I wanted to share the WAF policy between the AWS app and the on-prem application, that's completely possible because, again, it's one management console here. So let's dive into the WAF demo VS for a second. If we get in here, let me open the analytics pane. On the right, we are greeted by our main analytics screen, where you get all the information which I shown you on the slide as well. End-to-end timing. You can see here that sometimes the green one, I think, is the application response. Now it's client RTT is going up, right, a couple milliseconds. So you see that's how that changes over time. You get how many requests, what is the end-to-end timing. So you can drill down into all of these for more information in our analytics screen. Let's dive into the security analytics that I mentioned earlier. So security analytics start with an overview of your SSL profiles, right? So here on this VS, most of the SSL is done by TLS 1.2. You're getting a not the full score because we haven't enabled HSTS on this virtual service. So to get the full score, we would need to enable that, and that plays into our overall health score, right? It gets a security penalty for that. This virtual service is not under DDoS attack, so nothing comes up here, but we could drill down deeper into that if we, for example, look at our DDoS victim, right? So we for the presentations, we have a DDoS victim that is continuously under attack by DDoS. And here you see that the attacks coming in, and we can actually drill down into the attack type, what kind of attacks are coming in. Here it has detected DDoS timeouts, right? And we can now drill deeper. Okay, this IP address is doing this to us. If you have different types of, I said over 30 different types, like SynFlood and so on, can be identified, then of course you have a different way of showing this in the UI. So going back to our security, or to this WAF demo VS, let's have a look at the WAF analytics tab. In WAF analytics, I mentioned earlier, is kind of looking at the whole picture of what happened over the course of the last week here, right? So I can change the time frame, what happened there, and I would see any specific attacks in this graph, right? If I get more than the usual, I would see any outliers here, and I can see which rules are getting hit, and I can drill down on those and see which IP addresses actually getting or doing these hits. And either I can now take this as an input to use our exception workflow. And remember, exception was a way to maybe tune the policy, right? If I identify this as a false positive, then I can use the exception workflow here to create an exception directly tune the policy if I hit add exception here, or I can jump into our log analytics. And by directly taking all that filter that we've set and open that up in the log analytics. As you can see, we are now jumped back into the log analytics. Here we already have some filters applied, and now we can take one individual log entry and dig deep into what's going on. We see that this got rejected with a 403 by the replication firewall. You get all kinds of information from the load balancing as well. And then you get the WAF hits, meaning that you get an overview of what latency was added by the web application firewall processing, and you get an overview of what signatures hit, which positive security hit, and all of that together in this specific log entry. Keep in mind that all of that data can be directly exported to Splunk or any other SIM tool you might be using directly from the service engines if you wanted to crawl through it somewhere else or run your own analytics on it, right? And you can use this as combination with, okay, I now want to see everything from France as well, right? So any denied requests on this log rule ID coming from France. And since this is test traffic, it will give me more probably the same amount of log entries here, but hopefully get the point, right? You can drill down using the log analytics and what's going on. Let me clear the filters for a second and give you another example here. Drill down what's going on and really find the details and make exceptions as well from the log analytics here. Because if you go into one of those log entries, you have the same capabilities by running the exception workflow from a log entry by getting this overlay and directly changing the policy, making it much easier to interact with the policy and to tune it. So now we looked at a lot of visibility, right? So you get all this information, but how do you configure? So that is actually a very simple task in our platform. For any of the virtual services, you can go into the edit mode and attach a WAF policy to it. And that WAF policy then contains all the bits and pieces that we discussed earlier. So here, I actually don't have, for this application, right now I don't have edit capabilities. I don't have the rights to edit this. So let me, just for the sake of it, create a new policy to show it to you. So here, this is my demo policy. I need to choose a WAF profile, which contains a lot of information about the strictness of the HTML checking, which also can be reused across applications. Then I can choose the policy mode and the paranoia level. And then here on the top, you see that we're following the WAF pipeline as we've seen it earlier, right? You have the allow list, you have positive security, you have application rules and signatures, as we had discussed earlier. And all of them work together in a similar way. And you have, of course, application learning, which you can enable, and then you create a positive security learning group from the UI to take all that learned data and create rules out of it. Okay, so that's kind of the idea. You have defaults that you can put in place, you enable learning, it will continuously learn the traffic, mine the traffic, and then create the rules and use this this positive security policy that it creates to check the incoming application traffic. And with that, we are finished with the demo for now. Let's go back to the slides for a summary. And here, let me do that for a second. Let's review the environment for that we looked at, right? So we had the controller kind of sits in the middle of it, right? Central point for management, for API, for everything. And then it connects to your AWS instances, right? It manages the service engines there and the applications. It connects to your Azure workloads and to your on-prem as well. It's the central management plane for the API. And with that, a security team, for example, can enforce company-wide security requirements, no matter where the application is running, right? So they don't have to write a special policy for AWS the security there, for the Azure security. They can enforce that through all of your applications. So as a result, there is no vendor lock-in or for any of those cloud-native products, right, that you only have in AWS, for example. And in contrast, you're getting a security solution that is very feature-rich. The application firewall fully featured to protect all of the applications. And yeah, with that, we are nearing the end of this presentation. So I want to draw the full circle to the beginning, right? So we talked about why application security in WAF is not deployed everywhere, right? That as a solution needs to provide simplicity and visibility. And that's what we provide to our customers, because we allow them to host their apps on any cloud with just one platform, and that is the NSX Advanced Load Balancer and all the included application protection that we have looked at today. Yeah, and now I understand it's 45 minutes in, and we covered a lot of content today, and it will be hard to digest all of that right away. And therefore, I would like you to point to these resources, right? So we have webinars for you on avinetworks.com/webinars. We have also hands-on labs for you where you can try out the product. Similarly to what I've shown you in the demo, you can actually go to the hands-on labs, fire it up just for you. We have 90 minutes. It's all configured there. You get a step-by-step walkthrough of how to configure and use the application firewall for that matter. And it's a great experience to get yourself your hands on the product itself. And if you want to more a workshop-based training, we provide we offer those as well across multiple time zones, a couple times a year, where you can sit in with our now virtually, of course, with our trainers and learn how you can improve your application delivery and your security altogether. Yeah, and with that, I really want to thank you for your time today. We got some time left for questions, so stick around for those. But all in all, I hope the session was insightful. And yeah, let's go to the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So thank you for the presentation demo. I just want to address one top asked question people usually ask us: is WAF require an additional license? The answer is no. Everything that you see that Christian demo today is one product, right? It's deployed on the same platform: WAF, GSLB, analytics, right? All of those, you just get it. You don't have to purchase it separately. There's no separate purchase line. Okay. All right. Okay. Then let's dive into the technical question from Louis. Are the rules or app rules downloaded like the signature, or are they manually added by the user? Are they made manually by the user?
So
questions on app rules.
Application rules are also automatically fetched from our RV service, right? So the controller connects to that. You opt into getting application rules. You opt into getting the core rule set signatures, and they get automatically downloaded and installed.
Yep. Yeah. So we actually recently ran a webinar specifically on RV posts, talking about it was kind of threat updates as well as managing, a support ticket and all that. It is a product that we're going to further, improve along the way. So you will be able to get all the updates and curated updates as well. Yeah. Another question is from Faisal. Is there any wizard to import rules from backup of other WAF? Great question. Wizard to import.
So wizard to import, not necessarily. When you in my experience, all of these WAFs that we have out there have some kind of difference in how they are actually constructed, right? The architecture of how they're built. So it's hardly possible to do a one-to-one import of the whole WAF configuration of a different WAF into us. Having said that, we have possibilities to allow to import custom rules from, for example, Akamai as one, As RB, we have a complete import script for F5 load balancer configuration, and we are working on importing or doing similar things for the ASM. But that's certainly something that is not a one-to-one, or will never be a one-to-one conversion, because these products differ so much in how they are architected.
Yep, and we have another question, or maybe even ask from Marco. Will the PowerPoint be provided? I'm primarily interested in major points made along the high-level architecture and links in the summary slide. Yes, Marco, we will send you the slides, and which will be uploaded to SlideShare, and also the recording of this webinar. So you can definitely share and download a copy of that as well. I do want to kind of almost run a quick commercial that if you already have your VMware account relationship in your accounts, reach out to your VMware reps and ask about the promotion that we're running right now. So we're running a 3 months kind of trial promotion. So everything that you see today, right, you can actually get your hands on running in your own lab, because we're all software. There's no hardware boxes to be shipped to you, so it's really easy for you to try it out yourself. Also, it's kind of a preview that I know a lot of people were talking about, how can I, right, move off my existing WAF, and some of that may or may not require a PSO service, but we do have some promotion going on that can help you to migrate off, whether it's F5 for load balancing or some other vendors for WAF. So definitely contact your VMware reps. All right, more question from Fasai. Does it need any communication with your online service to learn new virus signatures or rule signatures? I think that's regarding the AVI Pulse. Any communicate? Yeah.
So
or does it receive regular upgrades? Mm-hmm.
Okay, so so we have some customers who will not allow the controller to connect to an external service, right? So that happens. Then the customers can manually get all these updates from our My VMware portal and download it directly and then upload it to the controller. That's then a manual process, unfortunately, but we can really help there. The product itself can run without having this cloud connection. So all the learning that I talked about is all local. So we are analyzing the whole incoming traffic on the controller itself and then programming the rules. I think the question had something about malware and viruses. As I mentioned in the presentation, we ourselves, we are not the malware scanner. We provide the interface to the malware scanner, and we would send that the uploaded file to that. So for that, it's kind of a question to the malware scanner that you're running, how that update is done. Hope that answers the question.
It does. I also posted the link. It sounds like we have a lot of questions and interest on the AVI Pulse service that you have shown. Feeding into WAF. So I have listed the link there to the most recent webinar we ran. And do check that avnetworks.com/webinars page often, because we have great topics like this, at least on a monthly basis. And we also have workshops that you can attend for free. So there are 2 types of workshops. So one is another like about a 90-minute intro workshops, but in that you have about 20 minutes of PowerPoint, and 60 minutes is actually you, the audience, getting access to our product. And you will do a bunch of simple virtual service creations, and then some of them doing some SSL, HTTP to HTTPS redirect. So you get a taste of what Christian covered today, right? Part of the stack, but you will get a lot more deep dives if you attend the 4-day workshop, which is, I think it's about 2 hours a day, where we have the different workshops for different time zones that we run also very frequently, that you could get further, deep dives into the products. And then Christian did mention this VMware HOL, which is called VMware Hands-on Labs. That is a more kind of a curated process where you could do click-through. And then that we already developed, I believe, 4 types of HOL lab there. Load balancing, we have WAF, we have GSLB. I believe we have 1 actually on containers upcoming. So do check out on the VMware hands-on lab resource as well. All you need is to create, I believe, a VMware login, and then you will have access to all the labs. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. So hopefully I addressed all the questions. Again, feel free to reach out to Avi Marketing at VMware.com with any questions or needs. So again, thank you a lot for your participation, and you will get the recording and the slides right after this webinar. And Christian, thank you very much. Stellar performance. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you all for your time today, and enjoy the rest of your day, and stay safe.
Yep. Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.